ahead is a moonlit road. When the downtown lights start to go out at night, we go insane, we go insane. And when I arrive, I start to lose my mind. I go insane, I go insane. 'Cause they told me you, 'cause they told me you, they told me you. I can feel that now. 'Cause they told me you, 'cause they told me you, they told me you. I can feel that now. 'Cause I ain't got no friend, I ain't got nobody. All I got ahead is a moonlit road.
I like this song. 'Cause they told me to, 'cause they told me to. I ain't got nobody, I ain't got no head. I don't even know the words, but I'll make them up. That was pretty cool. I like that song. So hello everybody. I hope everyone is doing super freaking awesome today. Today's kind of an unusual day here. I went to work like normal. It was super freezing cold, and after about an hour they sent everybody home because the roads were so bad. It was so crazy. I had I was sliding all over the road. Everything was covered with ice. I had another car almost hit me. They like missed their turn and just went like straight across the lanes in front of me and hit the curb. And one of my kids, she got stuck behind an accident too and had to go like 5 miles out of her way to get around it. And it was just kind of a crazy day today. But we're all home safe. We made it safe, no accidents. And we've just been stuck inside. So, you know, I live in Oklahoma and we don't really know how to drive on snow, but today was not snow. Today was ice, and no one can drive on ice unless you have like those special spiky tires or whatever, like the ice road truckers or something. But ice is a whole different ball game, and there's just too many hills and turns and stops and everything else around here to be messing with driving on ice. So, I got a lot done at home today. Whoops, why isn't I thought I posted something in chat. I did not. Oh, well, no wonder it's not showing up. Let me try this again. I can't think and type it at the same time. Whoops, can't even spell. Feel free to chat with me. Anyway, yeah, feel free to chat at any time, even when I'm reading. I love to hear from everyone, and it still says it's empty. No. What is happening? I'm hitting things and nothing happens when I hit it. Oh my goodness. All right, things are going to get a little freaky here because I think I'm going to have to sign back into Nimo, and then we're going to have all that feedback, so I'm going to stop talking. Just for a second. I guess I lost my music too. Sometimes OBS is awesome, and sometimes it just makes things more difficult. Sometimes 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 All right, let's see how that went. I heard just a little feedback. Yay! That worked better there. And whoa! You guys are seeing my music instead of my window. Like I said, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. That's just crazy. Hello. There we go. Whew. Well, that was interesting little glitch there. But now I think we're back up and running. My music's a little loud for me to be talking over. Let's change that just a little bit, but I do love the music. I love music. I love all kinds of music, actually. But this dance music kind of makes me move, gets me all, and it makes me in a good mood. Especially when it's all cold and kind of dreary like it is today. And I don't even remember where I was on my story. But anyway, so I'm home. I was going to stream earlier than I usually do, but I got busy cleaning up stuff. And I don't know if I've mentioned, but we have chickens. I have a lot of chickens, and I have a lot of ducks. I have way more ducks than chickens. But anyway, I also have an incubator. And I put some eggs in the incubator, and today they've started hatching, and they're so cute when they hatch. They're Breese chickens is what I'm incubating right now. Some Breese and some Calduck eggs. I thought that the eggs were guinea hens, but turns out I think they're Calducks. So I'm super duper excited if my Calducks hatch next week. My Calducks will take another week in the incubator. But I have 5 chickens that hatched today, and they're so adorable. They're so cute when they first hatch. And so that was fun today. So I was here, and it's like as I'm cleaning, I walk by and poof, there's another one, and there's another one, and there's another one. When I left for work this morning, there were none, but I could hear one chirping through the egg. I just couldn't tell which egg it was trying to come out of. But by the time I got home, about 2 hours later, when they called off my work, then I was able to see babies. There was 2 that hatched while I was at work, and then the other 3 just keep popping up. So that's kind of cool. I think it's cool anyway. I sure do like having baby animals. They're so cute. So that's about all that's going on with me in my day today. I hope you guys are doing great with your day. Hopefully it's a little bit warmer where you are. This cold it's kind of painful. It's so cold. I mean, it makes your face hurt, your cheeks hurt. Even when I wear my coat and my gloves and everything and bundle up, the wind is so strong it just kind of goes right through you. But that's okay, because I'm sure in about 6 months I could be complaining about how stinking hot it is because I'm in Oklahoma and it gets pretty stinking hot here too in the summer. You would think after living here for as long as I have that I'd be used to it, but I am not. I am a 60 to 75 degree kind of girl. That's just where I'm happy. Just that middle of the road, super comfortable. I don't care if it's sunny. I love rain, sun, clouds, whatever, but just 60 to 75. That's my favorite temperatures. You know, where you can be all cozy and have a sweatshirt on. That's what I like. That's my kind of weather. We've actually had some pretty good days like that, which is unusual for January. Weather like this is kind of typical, so I should have expected it. Hopefully I enjoyed, the nice weather a little bit more, but we'll see. We'll see. So we are still reading The Art of War by Sun Tzu. I do love chatting with you guys, but the reason I started streaming is I just, I play games and I watch streams, and I thought, what if I could do something that helped, self-improvement kind of thing. But I'm no exercise guru or health guru or cooking guru or anything like that. But I do like to read, and reading is something simple. It's inexpensive. Everyone can do it. Well, most everyone can do it. It's usually, doesn't cost a whole lot. You can find a lot of free books on the internet. You can, if you have a library system where you are, you can get free books from the library. So I wanted to read. Now, the problem came with if I'm going to read on the internet or on a stream, because I'm in the United States, I have to comply with all of our copyright laws. So I can only read books that are in the public domain. So I wanted to read The Art of War. The copy I have at home was published in 1988 or something. I don't remember when it was published. But anyway, it is not over 100 years old. So I had to go find a copy that was in the public domain. So there is a version of this book, Sun Tzu's The Art of War. Of course, his book is, over 2,500 years old, but it's all in the Chinese characters, and which I don't read. I don't even read the modern Chinese characters, and these are ancient Chinese characters, and apparently even a lot of, I don't know what you would call them, Chinese historians, people who tried, who do speak and read Chinese characters that tried to put it into, write it down or whatever. There's characters they don't know what the meaning are, and apparently people would add in extra characters when they'd make copies because they just wanted it to make a little bit more sense or be a little bit more clear or all kinds of things. And then when they translate it into English, then it gets even more messed up. So, but it's the closest thing I've got. I've heard about this book. I thought it would be pretty cool to read, so I'm reading it. It's a 1910 version. I don't remember the name of our translator, but he does not like the person who translated it before him, and he throws a lot of academic shade at the other dude too, but I think it's kind of funny the insults he throws at the other guy, and it makes it really, really, really difficult to read. But at the same time, it gives you a lot of information. So what I do is I read through it with all of the commentary, because you get a whole lot that way. I stumble over the Old English words and the Chinese characters and the French and everything else that he throws in there. But and then I go back through and I read just Sun Tzu's words, because that's really what I wanted to read. That's the part that I wanted to read this book for. I do have a YouTube channel. If you want to go ahead and catch up on the first, let's see, I read the whole intro, which took forever, and the first 7 chapters. You can find my YouTube channel if you have access to YouTube where you are. My channel is at The Adorkable Blonde, just TheAdorkaBleBlonde, The Adorkable Blonde. So, you can catch up on the chapters there. I also, every now and then, I need a break from this, and I have read Winnie the Pooh. So there's some Winnie the Pooh on there. And then there's also some of my gaming videos from the gaming platform that I use when I stream on gaming. So you can find me there. If you want to message me, you can message me there. You can message me here at Nemo. I'm on Twitter. What am I on Twitter? I just changed it. I can't remember what I am on Twitter. I think I'm Adorkable Blonde with no E at the end, just like I am on here. It has my face, so I think if you type in Adorkable, you should be able to find me. So you can find me there, if you want to chit-chat, visit, maybe recommend a story. If you want to correct my pronunciation on some things, that would be awesome. I don't mind being corrected. I love to learn. So, anything you want to teach me. I have a Discord that it's not really set up yet, so I won't be sharing that, but I am getting set up on a Discord so that if you wanted to, we could always do some voice chats and you could tell me what I'm doing wrong. How to pronounce some of these characters if you know. Because I think it's really, really interesting. Okay. So anyway, so that kind of gives you a little background about where we are, where we're going, how we're doing all this stuff. We just finished up chapter 7. I think I'm trying to find where we stopped last time. I should have done this before I got on, but I kind of sometimes forget everything I need to do before we get started. This should be close. That's where we ended last time. Nope, that's not. That's chapter 7. That's maneuvering. That's the last one. So chapter 7 is where we started last time. After I finish this book, I don't know what I'm going to read. Like I said, it's got to be old, but there's lots of old things I can read. I could do some Shakespeare. There's some Agatha Christie if people want to listen to some their mysteries. Agatha Christie is an American writer, and she wrote a lot of mysteries that are pretty good mysteries. There's just all kinds of things I could read. Any of the old Greek texts or just about anything as long as it's in the public domain. Pretty much anything that was written more than 100 years ago will be in the public domain. If it is in a different language, like Sun Tzu, is this The Art of War, then it just needs to be a translation that was published prior more than 100 years ago. And there's some really cool websites that you can use to find things, which is what I do, which I think is pretty cool. So let me see, my music is buffering. I was going to stop it, but I can't stop it if it's thinking about itself. There we go. There we go. So now I got it all stopped. And I know you guys are tired of hearing this, but I don't have my transitions done yet. So we are just going to do a rough transition and we're just going to pop on over to where we can read. Ta-da! There we go. So here we are. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and try and I move my cursor along as best I can. I don't know if you guys can see it. I tried to make it bigger, but sometimes it has trouble with this. But we're on chapter 8. Chapter 8, Variation of Tactics. The heading means literally the 9 variations, but as Sun Tzu does not appear to enumerate these, and as, indeed, He has already told us that such deflections from the ordinary course are practically innumerable. We have little option but to follow Wang Zai, who says that 9 stands for an indefinitely large number. All it means is that in warfare, we ought to vary our tactics to the utmost degree. I do not know what Cao Kung makes these 9 variations out to be, but it has been suggested that they are connected with 9 situations of Chapter 11. This is the view adopted by Chang Yu, see notes on Section 2. The only other alternative is to suppose that something has been lost, a supposition to which the unusual shortness of the chapter lends some weight. Yay, we have a short chapter. 1. Sun Tzu said, "In war, the general receives his commands from the sovereign, collects his army, and concentrates his forces." Repeated from Chapter 7, where it is certainly more in place. It may have been interpolated here merely in order to supply a beginning to the chapter. 2. When in difficult country, do not encamp. For an explanation of these characters, see Chapter 11, Section 8. In country where high roads intersect, join hands with your allies. Do not linger in dangerously isolated positions. This is not one of the 9 situations as given in the beginning of Chapter 11, but occurs later on. We may compare it with Chapter 11, Section 7. Chang Yu calls it this situated across the frontier in hostile territory. Li Chuan says it is the country in which there are no springs or wells, flocks or herds, vegetables or firewood. Chia Lin, one of the gorges, chasms, and precipices, without a road by which to advance. In hemmed-in situations, you must resort to stratagem. See Chapter 11, Sections 9 and 14. Captain Calthrop has mountainous and wooded country, which is a quite inadequate translation of this. In a desperate position, you must fight. See Chapter 11, Sections 10 and 14. Chang Yu has an important note here, which must be given in full. From these characters, he says, down to this point, the 9 variations are presented to us. The reason why only 5 are given is that the subject is treated en precise. So in Chapter 11, where he discusses the variations of tactics corresponding to the 9 grounds, Sun Tzu mentions only 6 variations. There again we have an abridgment. I cannot understand what Chang Yu means by this statement. He can only be referring to sections 11 through 14 or sections 46 through 50 of Chapter 11, but in both places all the 9 grounds are discussed. Perhaps he is confusing these with the 6 of Chapter 10. All kinds of grounds have corresponding military positions, and also a variation of tactics suitable to each. In Chapter 11, what we find enumerated first, sections 2 through 10, are the situations. Afterwards, sections 11 through 14, the corresponding tactics. And so I read fast, and I'm sorry, I'll try and slow down a little bit, but then I just get started and I just keep reading fast. Now, how can we tell that the 9 variations are simply the variations of tactics corresponding to the 9 grounds? It is said further on that the general who does not understand the 9 variations of tactics may be well acquainted with the features of the country, yet he will not be able to turn his knowledge to practical account. Again, in Chapter 11, Section 41, we read, "The different measures adapted to the 9 varieties of ground and the expediency of aggressive or defensive tactics must be carefully examined." From a consideration of these passages, the meaning is made clear. When later on the 9 grounds are enumerated, Sun Tzu recurs to these 9 variations. He wishes here to speak of the 5 advantages, so he begins by setting forth the 9 variations. These are inseparably connected in practice, and therefore they are dealt with together. The weak point of this argument is the suggestion that 5 bangs can stand as this, that is, an abstract or abridgment of 9, when those that are omitted are not less important than those that appear, and when one of the latter is not included amongst the 9 at all. 3. There are roads which must not be followed, especially those leading through narrow defiles, says Li Chuan, where an ambush is to be feared. Armies which must not be attacked. More correctly, perhaps, there are times when an army must not be attacked. Chien Hao says, when you see your way to obtain a trivial advantage, but are powerless to inflict a real defeat, refrain from attacking for fear of overtaxing your men's strength. Towns which must not be besieged. Captain Calthrop says castles, an unfortunate attempt to introduce local color. He cracks me up with his trash talking of Captain Calthrop. Chapter 3, Section 4, Cao Kung. I don't know why I yawn so much when I'm reading out loud to you guys. Cao Kung gives an interesting illustration from his own experience. When invading the territory of Suzhou, he ignored the city of Hupai. I'll say Hupai, which lay directly in his path, and pressed on into the heart of the country. This excellent strategy was rewarded by the subsequent capture of no fewer than 14 important district cities. Cheng Yu says, no town should be attacked which, if taken, cannot be held, or, if left alone, will not cause any trouble. Sen Ying, when urged to attack, Pi Yang replied, the city is small and well fortified. Even if I succeeded in taking it, 'twill be no great feat of arms, whereas if I fail, I shall make myself a laughingstock. In the 17th century, sieges still formed a large proportion of war. It was Turenne who directed attention to the importance of marches, countermarches, and maneuvers. He said, it is a great mistake to waste men in taking a town when the same expenditure of soldiers will gain a province. Positions which must not be contested, commands of the sovereign which must not be obeyed. This is a hard saying. This is a hard saying for the Chinese, with their reverence for authority, and Wei Lao Tzu, quoted by Tu Mu, is moved to exclaim, weapons are baleful instruments, strife is antagonistic to virtue, a military commander is the negation of civil order. The unpalatable fact remains, however, that even imperial wishes must be subordinated to military necessity. The Tung Tien has these characters before this character, etc. This is a gloss on the words by Chung Ko Liang, which, being repeated by Tu Yu, become incorporated with the text. Cheng Yu thinks that these 5 precepts are these characters referred to in section 6. Another theory is that these characters are here enumerated, starting with these and ending at these, while the final clause embraces and, as it were, sums up all the 9. Thus Ho Shi says, even if it be your sovereign's command to encamp in difficult country, linger in isolated positions, etc., you must not do so. The theory, sorry, I touched that. I thought it was a spot on my screen, but it's on the document. The theory is perhaps, oh my goodness. The theory is perhaps a little too ingenious to be accepted with confidence. 4. The general who thoroughly understands the advantages that accompany variation of tactics knows how to handle his troops. Before this character in the original text, there is a this character which is obviously not required. 5. The general who does not understand these may be well acquainted with the configuration of the country, yet he will not be able to turn his knowledge into practical account. Literally, get the advantages of the ground, which means not only securing good positions, but availing oneself of natural advantages in every possible way. Chang Yu says, every kind of ground is characterized by certain natural features, and also gives scope for a certain variability of plan. How is it possible to turn these natural features to account unless topographical knowledge is supplemented by versatility of mind? 6. So, the student of war who is unversed in the art of varying his plans, even though he be acquainted with the 5 advantages, will fail to make the best use of his men. Cao Kung says that these characters are the 5 things that follow, but this cannot be right. We must rather look back to the 5 variations contained in Section 3. Chia Lin, who reads this character here to balance these other characters, tells us that these imply 5 obvious and generally advantageous lines of action. Namely, if a certain road is short, it must be followed. If an army is isolated, it must be attacked. If a town is in powerless condition, it must be besieged. If a position can be stormed, it must be attempted. And if consistent with military operations, the ruler's command must be obeyed. But there are circumstances which sometimes forbid a general to use these advantages. For instance, a certain road may be the shortest way for him, but if he knows that it abounds in natural obstacles, or that the enemy has laid an ambush on it, he will not follow that road. A hostile force may be open to attack, but if he knows that it is hard pressed and likely to fight with desperation, he will refrain from striking, and so on. Here, this character comes in to modify this other character, and hence we see the uselessness of knowing the one without the other, of having an eye for weakness in the enemy's armor without being clever enough to recast one's plans on the spur of the moment. Captain Calthrop offers this slovenly translation. He's dissing Captain Calthrop again. In the management of armies, it is the art of the 9 changes be understood. A knowledge of the 5 advantages is no avail. Number 7. Hence, in the wise leader's plans, considerations of advantage and of disadvantage will be blended together. Whether in an advantageous position or a disadvantageous one, says Cao Kung, the opposite state should always be present to your mind. 8. If our expectation of advantage be tempered in this way, we may succeed in accomplishing the essential part of our schemes. According to Tu Mu, this is the equivalent to, and this is paraphrased, Tu Mu goes on to say, if we wish to wrest an advantage from the enemy, we must not fix our minds on that alone, but allow for the possibility of the enemy also doing some harm to us, and let this enter as a factor into our calculations. 9. If, on the other hand, in the midst of difficulties, we are always ready to seize an advantage, we may extricate ourselves from misfortune. A translator cannot emulate the conciseness of to blend thoughts of advantage with disadvantage, but the meaning is as given. Tu Mu says, if I wish to extricate myself from a dangerous position, I must consider not only the enemy's ability to injure me, but also my own ability to gain an advantage over the enemy. If in my counsels these 2 considerations are properly blended, I shall succeed in liberating myself. For instance, if I am surrounded by the enemy and only think of effecting an escape, the nervelessness of my policy will incite my adversary to pursue and crush me. It would be far better to encourage my men to deliver a bold counterattack and use the advantage thus gained to free myself from the enemy's toils. See the story of Cao Cao, Chapter 7, Section 35, note. In his first edition, Captain Calthrop translated sections 7 through 9 as follows. The wise man perceives clearly wherein lies advantage and disadvantage. While recognizing an opportunity, he does not overlook the risks and saves future anxiety. This has now been altered into, the wise man considers well both advantage and disadvantage. He sees a way out of adversity, and on the day of victory to danger is not blind. Owing to a needless inversion of the Chinese, the words which I have italicized are evidently intended to represent Section 8. I'll just take his word for that, because it's not that obvious to me. But okay. 10. Reduce the hostile chiefs by inflicting damage on them. Chia Lin enumerates several ways of inflicting this injury, some of which would only occur to the Oriental mind. I know we don't use that word anymore. He used it in 1901. I apologize. I just flipped right through and say it. Some of which would only occur to the Asian mind. Entice away the enemy's best and wisest men, so that he may be left without counselors. Introduce traitors into his country, that the government policy may be rendered futile. Foment intrigue and deceit, and thus sow dissension between the ruler and his ministers. By means of every artful contrivance, cause deterioration amongst his men and waste of his treasure. Corrupt his morals by insidious gifts, leading him into excess. Disturb and unsettle his mind by presenting him with lovely women. Chang Yu, after Wang Sai, considers this to be military chastisement. Get the enemy, he says, into a position where he must suffer injury, and he will submit of his own accord. Captain Calthrop twists Sun Tzu's words into an absurdly barbarous precept. He just really absurdly barbarous. In reducing an enemy to submission, inflict all possible damage upon him. In this make trouble for him, came from the top there. This character is defined by Cao Kung as this character, and his definition is generally adopted by the commentators. Tu Mu, however, seems to take it in the sense of possessions, or, as we might say, assets, which he considers to be a large army, a rich exchequer, harmony amongst the soldiers, punctual fulfillment of commands. These give us a whip hand over the enemy, and keep them constantly engaged. Literally make servants of them. Tu Yu says prevent them from having any rest. Hold out spacious allurements and make them rush to any given point. Meng Shi's note contains an excellent example of the idiomatic use of cause them to forget Pian the reasons for acting otherwise than on their first impulse, and hasten in our direction. 11. The art of war teaches us to rely not on the likelihood of the enemy's not coming, but on our own readiness to receive him. The Tung Tien and Yu Lan read, but the conciser form is more likely to be right. Not on the chance of his not attacking, but rather on the fact that we have made our position unassailable. The Tung Tien and Yulon insert these characters after the first of this character and omit the rest. There are 5 dangerous faults which may affect a general. 1. Recklessness, which leads to destruction. This is the notes: bravery without forethought, as Cao Kung analyses it, which cause a man to fight blindly and desperately like a mad bull. Such an opponent, said Chang Yu, must not be encountered with brute force, but may be lured into an ambush and slain. See Wu Zhu chapter 4. In estimating the character of a general, men are wont to pay exclusive attention to his courage, forgetting that courage is only one of many qualities which a general should possess. The merely brave man is prone to fight recklessly, and he who fights recklessly, without any perception of what is expedient, must be condemned. Sima Fa, too, makes the incisive remark, simply going to one's death does not bring about victory. Two, cowardice, which leads to capture. These characters is explained by Cao Kung of the man whom timidity prevents from advancing to seize an advantage, and Wang Sai adds, who is quick to flee at the sight of danger. Meng Shi gives the closer paraphrase, he who is bent on returning alive. That is, a man who will never take a risk. But, as Sun Tzu knew, nothing is to be achieved in war unless you are willing to take risks. Tai Kung said, he who lets an advantage slip will subsequently bring upon himself real disaster. In 404 AD, Liu Yu pursued the rebel Huan Shusan up the Yangtze and fought a naval battle with him at the island of Changheng. The loyal troops outnumbered only a few thousand, while their opponents were in great force. But Huan Shusan, fearing the fate which was in store for him should he be overcome, had a light boat made fast to the side of his war junk, so that he might escape if necessary at a moment's notice. The natural result was that his fighting spirit of his soldiers was utterly quenched, and when the loyalists made an attack from windward with fireships, all striving with the utmost ardor to be the first in the fray, Huan Shusan's forces were routed, had to burn all their baggage, and fled for 2 days and nights without stopping. Chang Yu tells a somewhat similar story of Chao Yingqi, a general of the Qin state, who during a battle with the army of Chu in 597 BC had a boat kept in readiness for him on the river, wishing, in case of defeat, to be the first to get across. That's pretty sketchy, I think. If you're the general, you want to make sure everybody, that's just, yeah, that's not good. 3, a hasty temper which can be provoked by insults. I fail to see the meaning of Captain Calthrop's which brings insult. Tu Mu tells us that Yao Sang, when opposed in 357 AD by Huang Mei, Tang Qiang and others, shut himself up behind his walls and refused to fight. Tang Qiang said, our adversary is of a choleric temper and easily provoked. Let us make constant sallies and break down his walls, then he will grow angry and come out. Once we can bring his force into battle, it is doomed to be our prey. This plan was acted upon. Yao Sang came out to fight, was lured on as far as San Yuan by the enemy's pretended flight, and finally attacked and slain. 4, a delicacy of honor which is sensitive to shame. This need not to be taken to mean that a sense of honor is really a defect in a general. What Sun Tzu condemns is rather an exaggerated sensitiveness to slanderous reports. The thin-skinned man who is stung by opprobrium, however undeserved. Mei Yaoqian truly observes, though somewhat paradoxically, the seeker after glory should be careless of public opinion. Over solitude for his men, which exposes him to worry and trouble. Here again, Sun Tzu does not mean that the general is to be careless of the welfare of his troops. All he wishes to emphasize is the danger of sacrificing any important military advantage to the immediate comfort of his men. This is a short-sighted policy, because in the long run the troops will suffer more from the defeat, or at best the prolongation of the war which will be the consequence. A mistaken feeling of pity will often induce a general to relieve a beleaguered city, or to reinforce a hard-pressed detachment, contrary to his military instincts. It is now generally admitted that our repeated efforts to relieve Ladysmith in the South African War were so many strategical blunders which defeated their own purpose, and in the end relief came through the very man who started out with a distinct resolve no longer to subordinate the interest of the whole to sentiment in favor of a part. An old soldier, one of our generals, who failed most conspicuously in this war, tried once, I remember, to defend him to me on the ground. Sorry, my phone was ringing. I don't know who it is, so I'm not going to answer. An old soldier, one of our generals who failed most conspicuously in this war, tried once, I remember, to defend him to me on the ground that he was always so good to his men. By this plea, had he but known it, he was only condemning him out of Sun Tzu's mouth. I think this translator is British. So I guess when he says "our," he means British, because I am not familiar with the South African War or Ladysmith being anything that I learned in American history. Doesn't mean it's not. It just means I don't remember learning it. But I kind of get the feeling that this translator is British. I don't know for sure. I'm sure it probably told us somewhere in all that intro he gave us, but I don't remember. 13. These are the 5 besetting sins of a general, ruinous to the conduct of war. 14. When an army is overthrown and its leader slain, the cause will surely be found among the 5 different... I'm just making words up now. Let's try this again. When an army is overthrown and its leader slain, the cause will surely be found among these 5 dangerous faults. Let them be a subject of meditation. Oh, yay, and that's it. So that's chapter 8. So it's chapter 8. There are 13 chapters, so we've got about 6 left. I don't know if there's an epilogue or anything, but so now we're going to run back to the beginning of this chapter, and I'm just going to read the Sun Tzu, the parts that are supposedly in Sun Tzu's The Art of War without all the commentary. I don't have my little handy book. I have a little modern book that I can't read because, like I said, it's not old enough. But I can read parts of it and get away with it. And it's funny because when I'm comparing it with this one, it's like they're not even the same. But I don't know where I lost my book at today. So I don't have it to compare because that would be interesting. But so let's just carry on. And we're just going to go ahead and go through and read just the parts that Sun Tzu said. So it'll be just the capitalization. Or not the capital. It's a bigger type text of what he said. So, chapter 8. variation of tactics. 1. Sun Tzu said, "In war, the general receives his commands from the sovereign, collects his army, and concentrates his forces." 2. When in difficult country, do not encamp. In country where high roads intersect, join hands with your allies. Do not linger in dangerously isolated positions. In hemmed-in situations, you must resort to stratagem. In a desperate position, you must fight. Three, there are roads which must not be followed, armies which must not be attacked, towns which must not be besieged, positions which must not be contested, commands of the sovereign which must not be obeyed. 4. The general who thoroughly understands the advantages that accompany variation of tactics knows how to handle his troops. 5. The general who does not understand these may be well acquainted with the configuration of the country, yet he will not be able to turn his knowledge to practical account. 6. So, the student of war, who is unversed in the art of varying his plans, even though he be acquainted with the 5 advantages, will fail to make the best use of his men. 7. Hence, in the wise leader's plans, considerations of advantage and disadvantage will be blended together. 8. If our expectation of advantage be tempered in this way, we may succeed in accomplishing the essential part of our schemes. 9. If, on the other hand, in the midst of difficulties, we are always ready to seize an advantage, we may extricate ourselves from misfortune. 10. Reduce the hostile chiefs by inflicting damage on them. Make trouble for them and keep them constantly engaged. Hold out specious allurements and make them rush to any given point. 11. The art of war teaches us to rely not on the likelihood of the enemy's not coming, but on our own readiness to receive him. 12. There are 5 dangerous faults which may affect a general. 1. Recklessness, which leads to destruction. 2. Cowardice, which leads to capture. 3. A hasty temper, which can be provoked by insults. 4. A delicacy of honor, which is sensitive to shame. 5. Over-solicitude for his men, which exposes him to worry and trouble. 13. These are the 5 besetting sins of a general ruinous to the conduct of war. 14. When an army is overthrown and its leaders slain, the cause will surely be found among these 5 dangerous faults. Let them be a subject of meditation. So, there it is. That was it for chapter 8. So, it didn't feel like a short chapter. I mean, I guess maybe it was, but I mean, there's shorter chapters in here because I know one time we read 2 chapters together because they were that short. But that's a lot. It's pretty cool. It's really cool to me when you think about some of the situations in the world and some of the conflicts that are going on. And you read this book and then you can kind of, see the mistakes that they made. Not like I know, better than these generals how to run their military operations, but you can see mistakes that have been made. And it's just kind of interesting that, like this book, The Art of War, it's like right on all of these. When you see people taking towns that they can't keep, or maybe that they didn't really need, that if they'd have just bypassed them, it's very interesting. We're living in interesting times, though, which is sometimes kind of cool, a lot of times kind of exhausting, really stresses me out sometimes. But, sometimes it's good to just grab a book. Maybe this wasn't the best book to pick, but I wanted to read it. It's just, I've seen it, I've heard about it. They say that some of these principles you can apply to your business life or just your personal life and just really help you be like, I guess, kind of a champion, just kind of good about things. But it's good, and I think it's interesting, and I'm glad that you guys are here to read with me. I think I probably would have put this book down a long time ago and just like given up or whatever, but I kind of keep on for you guys, and I hope that you guys keep on too. Kind of encourage me to be here too. Keep me accountable, hold me accountable for our time together. Because I do enjoy it. I enjoy visiting with you guys and reading with you, and I hope you enjoy reading with me. And the reason I put it on the page is so you could read along if you wanted to, and that's why I kind of try and use my my cursor to help you follow along, just to kind of help us all read together and spend time together. And so feel free to message me, and I'll see you guys next time. I'm going to start some music here. Let's see if we could start some music. Is there anything I can sing to? Probably not. I know what song we're playing next. Ooh, I like that. Nice. So yeah, I'm so glad you guys spent time with me today, and kind of an interesting day. I would just be getting home about now, but instead we're all done with our reading, which is awesome. So I hope you guys have an amazing evening or amazing morning if it's daytime for you now. Hope you have a good day. Hope everything's going great in your life. If you guys ever want to chat, you know where to find me. I will be here. I may just hang out here and listen to some music sometime. Maybe we'll do that sometime together, just mainly listen to music. I'll do some reading. It all falls under the just chatting thing, so we can do it all and not have to worry too much about it. But yeah, it's kind of nice. I'm no DJ, but I do like listening to music. So I hope everyone has a great evening. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye.